So welcome, Akasha here, Nan Akasha from nanakasha.com, and welcome to the Bliss Life Podcast Energy Medicine Series. I'm so excited about this because it's been my pursuit for well over 30 years to find out what's underneath that. How do I change that? How do I repeat that? How do I never repeat that? And how do I find bliss? And so I'm really excited to bring you one of my very favorite people and truly one of those energy workers, spiritual people, and beautiful hearts that I trust. In fact, several years ago, I got very sick and I didn't know what to do. I ran out of ideas for myself, and I was the only person I knew to call was Alan. So I trust him implicitly, and I'm super excited. So what we're going to talk about today is Alan's going to talk about how to maximize your human, max your human, and to recharge, to reset, and to recenter so that you can be happy and harmonious in any crisis. And this is a skill we desperately need at this time and in this big metamorphosis, this massive transformation that we're finally in. And it's a lot uncertain and a lot exciting at the same time. So let me share, well, let me say hi, Alan. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, Nan. Hi, everybody. Thrilled to be here with you.
So let me tell you a little bit about Alan, and I'm not used to calling you Alan. Alan says, I fuel the tipping point of human consciousness. 3% of the world's population is dancing around enlightenment as a way of being. As that number of enlightened people grows to 6 and 7%, the problems that plague humanity will dramatically shift. As 10% of the world's population shifts into full enlightened consciousness, roughly the current population of Europe, a tipping point of transformation will make life on Earth a very different experience for those who follow us. So as the creator of Evolutionary Mystic Meditation and these pillars, we're going to talk to him about these pillars of how do you reconcile, how do you reconnect your human self with your divine self, which is really, I think, what's happening for the entire planet now. It's time to come back around and recognize that we are so different and so much more than we've been. Now, Alan has a lot of amazing experience on top of being an epic marketer and having an entire business around being one of the top marketers to help you launch a business, book, or product online. He has a best-selling book, throughYourBody.com, and it was the #1 best-selling health and wellness book and winner of 2 National Book of the Year awards. And he was for 2 years in a row a sitting board member on the Center of Integral Wisdom with Ken Wilber, Barbara Marx Hubbard, Michael Beckwith, Jack Canfield, John Gray, and some other amazing things. I know that your background is varied and wide with lots of healing modalities, meditation and body work and breath work, and then entrepreneurial practical work. And it's one of the reasons that I love you so much is how you bring those two worlds together. So practical spirituality, I call it. And so welcome, and tell us a little bit today about how you came through all of your amazing journey into being the mystic and the light you are in the world today.
Well, okay. In a nutshell. All right. Well, first I'll say that, I believe that when every soul incarnates into this life and into a body, that blueprint for who we could possibly be is already laid there with our soul purpose and our soul contracts. And inherent in that, if we commit to fulfill our soul purpose, it is the path of the mystic, of the saint, of the sage, of transcending the human and fully integrating our human with our divine, with our soul. And then from a fully embodied, fully enlightened, fully on fire human being, we can then move into the world as a healing presence in the world. And that's the path that I've been on, and that's the path that I've seen you on, and I love you for your tenacity and all the ways you follow your path. And I believe that every human being is destined to do that. Now, every mystic's journey is every mystic's journey. Your pace is perfect. My pace is perfect. Your progress is perfect. My progress is perfect. It's an unfolding. But we can slow that process down or we can speed it up. And I'm all about how do I practically speed that process up, cut through the chaos, cut through the confusion that allows me to step powerfully, boldly, courageously into the best version of myself, the mystical, the evolutionary mystical part of myself that is not only fully illuminated, but fully functioning in the modern world and using technology and using the latest leading edges of human consciousness to live fully, but actually make a real difference in the evolution of consciousness. So that's what lights me up. And the fact that you're listening to this conversation with Nan and I, you're already on your mystical journey to awaken your inner mystic, your inner saint, your inner sage. So one, I just want namaste, blessings, and it's so good to have you here. And I'll say that it always wasn't this fabulous for me. I was a bartender in the gay nightclub scene for a long time. Now, I always had an interest in the occult and the mystical and the mysterious, but, you know, that was intertwined with a lot of LSD and a lot of methamphetamine and some alcohol and just, you know, the whole party life. And at a certain point, the AIDS epidemic hit. And we started to pay a very high price for all that fun and all that partying that we had done. And I decided that if the isolation and loneliness of being an IV drug user was all that was available for me, I really didn't want to live like that. And fortunately, I had a friend in AA. I reached out to him. I got sober and started to really feel hope. And in that hope, I had to decide, do I have a short term to live on this planet? Because I had shared needles with men who had already died from AIDS. I should, by all record, have been HIV positive and probably died excruciating life of AIDS. And by miracle, I was and I still am HIV negative today. And I feel like the goddess, the divine, whatever you want to call her or him or it, placed her hand on my shoulders and blessed me and saved me because my dharma wasn't complete yet. And so I took that fascination with the occult and with the mysterious and with spirituality that I had been nursing for over 10 years and went to massage school and learn the art of laying on my hands and kneading flesh, but then also sensing the subtle energies of the chakras and the way that those energies move through the human body. And that was in 1988. So I've been a body worker for, 30 plus years now. And it's been my life's work and my professional work to study the mysteries of the human body and how the divine kisses us in every breath and moves through the sensations and the muscles and the connective tissues and the bones of our bodies to animate the life that we could live.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's always, I think that our lives are wonderful and juicy and like dramas. And yet, I know I wasn't. Most of us were told as we grew up that we weren't supposed to have lives like that. That's for the movies. We're supposed to be this way and not have all these things, do one job or whatever it is. And yet, when you see and feel now, right, back to that and the other things you've done and experienced, don't you feel that they are like a facet of you that's almost impossible to imagine that you didn't have now.
I will say that's true. I certainly couldn't imagine the extraordinary life that I live today, and the extraordinary people and the extraordinary journey that I've been on, and the people I've met and that I get to share my life with. I could not even fathom it then. You know, my wildest dreams aren't even contained in what's the reality of my life today. But I will also say that this part of myself was whispering and calling to me. And I think that every single person that's hearing this call, your highest self, your best self has been whispering and calling you through every challenge and every crisis and every dark night that you've been through. Now, I will very proudly say that my primary reason for beginning my mystical journey was excruciating pain. I was suffering, and I wanted something to ease the pain. And I reached a certain point where drugs and alcohol weren't doing it. They were fun and fine for a while, but then they caused more problems than they solved. And fortunately, there was a part of me that knew there was a spiritual solution to my suffering. And it was the following that path of finding the spiritual solution to my pain. And I found it. And fortunately for me, the access of the soul, you know, Nan talks a lot about bliss. Was it how do we free our mind so that we can transcend our human and our left brain thinking mind, for the most part, our ego, and move into those blissful states of consciousness? They're already always there for every single one of us. How do we heal our hearts? How do we unbind the bindings of suffering around our hearts so that our heart can open to divine, infinite love, immortal love, and come to that place where there's never a good reason to close my heart? How can I live in that place of permanent bliss, permanent divine love, and truly embody my soul's purpose? And that's what the mystical journey is. And so I believe that part of us is whispering and speaking and singing to us always. And it's a matter of, you know, calming the noise in the human enough that I can hear that song and follow its guidance, which I think we're really here to talk about is how do we max the human? How do we close the cacophony in the mind and that voice in the head so that we can actually be primed to hear that voice of divine guidance and then follow it courageously?
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because you know, you said how to be happy and harmonious in any crisis. And so just by the definition of a crisis, it's hard to imagine happiness and harmony. And yet, like you and everyone, I've been through many big ups and downs. And I have learned that, yes, like you say, you can reach a state. It doesn't mean that the thing isn't happening,
Right.
right? It doesn't mean your dad's not dying. It doesn't mean your divorce isn't going through right. It doesn't mean that if you did this right, all these things external to you would go the way you think they should. That's not what it says. It says, right? It gives us the ability to decide our state as we walk through what's happening. And what an important thing now. So share with us about this maxing your human so that you can recenter and recharge and reset, even in the middle of this uncertainty, even in the middle of crisis, even in the middle of not having a clue how you're going to pay the bills or feed your kids or get along without someone in your life. What is it that was, like you said, you had suffering. I had the same thing. Fortunately, most of us had major suffering, and then we went searching for something different. But then once you've reached that point, because people here are, what are those keys? How can people begin to have even, you know how when you're really scared or you're really in those deep, dark states, you don't even want to do anything for yourself. So share with us some really good, juicy ways to get out of that and start to rise up.
Well, you said something so important, and Carl Jung, one of the great grandfathers of modern psychiatry and psychology, said that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And what he meant by that is that yes, life and its circumstances are going to happen, and it's human and it's divine to feel sadness and feel grief and to feel pain. You know, death happens, divorce happens, jobs come and go, plagues come and go. And so we're faced moment by moment. Jobs come and go, careers come and go. Our dharmas even change, but our beloved dharmas change over decades sometimes. And so the challenge is, can I be present to what's happening in the moment, be present to whatever pain I'm experiencing, and to just let it move through me? Like that vast open space, like you've got that beautiful circle of the sacred flower. Can I be centered in the center of that sacred flower and let life move through me without resisting, without contracting in any way? That's the mystical possibility of being present to any pain. And then it's gone forever. But suffering is when I get attached to one of those emotions, one of those experiences. I get attached to the story that it should be different, or it shouldn't be happening to me, or my husband or my wife shouldn't be leaving me. My beloved shouldn't be dying. The economy shouldn't be tanking. The whole world shouldn't be shut in. When I get stuck in a story, I suffer. And so it's like, can I let go of my story? Can I really just presence whatever emotion and energy is moving through me? And as I do that, and as I flower, I begin to see every invitation as a way to go, oh, I can suffer through this, or I can see this from awe and wonder and excitement and joy and bliss. The choice is mine. So what I want to give you are some of the skills that I've learned of being a recovering IV methamphetamine drug addict and a survivor of the AIDS epidemic, that have given me that sense of strength and courage and confidence now that I hope will be inspiring to you. And so I call it Max Your Human. It's like, how can I prime my human to be at its best and to take the hard knocks of life and circumstance? And so the first one is recenter, the second one is reset, and the third one is then recharge. And the first one is recenter. And this comes to me out of my Tai Chi practice. I started studying Tai Chi in 1983. And I studied with an Aikido master for a year in 1992. And I have come back over and over and over to my Tai Chi practice. And so if you've ever seen any of those wonderful martial arts movies where they're doing these amazing kicks and leaps, and that all comes from a place that's called the center of the center. And in Chinese, that's called the Dantian. In Japanese, that's called the Hara. In Western astrology and the auric field, is called the second chakra. And so if you'll just rub your hands together and then take your thumbs and put them in your belly button, and then let your hands just rest underneath your navel, that is the anterior or the front part of your center. And it really resides between your palms and your spine. But it is an energetic, it's a gravitational, it's a muscular center in your body. It has so much power that can be cultivated and created. So centering is just one. If you'll lean to one side with me and then come back to center and lean to the other side. This is a very simple Aikido centering. So that's centering side to side. Now lean forward with me and recenter. Leaning back and now recentering. That's recentering front and back. And now just lifting, if you're sitting, great. Lifting everything up, tightening everything, and then just like, whew, drop into your center. It's recentering top and bottom. So it's recentering side to side, recentering front and back, recentering top and bottom, up and down. And so that's just a real simple exercise. Sense your body and recenter it. Now, you're going to think, really? That's your best you got? But I will tell you that when you take on a recentering practice, you can do it while you're at a traffic light. You can do it when you're in line at the grocery store. You can do it at home. Anytime you start to feel agitated or stressed in any way, if you'll take a minute to take a breath and just recenter side to side, front to back, up and down, and just drop into your center. And then maybe someday we'll have a chance to work together and you can see some of the martial art dynamics of how powerful you really are when you're in your center. And you might have seen Tai Chi masters or Aikido masters that 4 big, burly, strong guys can't push them off center because they're so grounded and so centered. Or 4 guys are trying to lift somebody up off center and they can't even pick them up. It's profound, the power that you have that you don't even imagine yet in that simple centering. So when I say recentering, it really is the physical little recentering, but it's an energetic recentering. And you can build on that, but that's the fundamental building block. You want to comment on that at all, Nan?
Yes. Well, what I like about it is that, we're not our bodies, but we're in our bodies, right? And we've got a body-mind connection and all of that. And there's something about that makes me think of the whole computer culture. If something's off, reboot, right?
We're going to come to that with reset in a minute.
Oh, there you go. Right. Yeah. But
Now,
this gives that sense of feeling like you're doing something. Made me think about when I first started to learn about Qigong. They talked about sinking, like you drop in this, like sinking in to your center, and how I know I did spend much of my life up here and over there.
Yeah. Left brain in the head, or even just not even in the auric field. It's like I'm so divorced of my body.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem for a lot of people, and for in times of crisis and uncertainty, there's a part of us that wants to run away. Like I used to be very, very shy, and not just shy, but even just lacking confidence. So even if I was acting all outgoing, there was a part of me was just trying to run away. It was just like, ooh. And so to me, that's what that was like. Going over here and getting any part of me that's kind of over there, going over here instead of going, come back in. I used to imagine a fishing rod reeling back in everybody to be here now, all those parts of me.
I like that figure 8 or the infinity symbol, and it's like, okay, I'm coming over here and I'm scooping up. Oh, I'm coming over here. Oh, I'm leaning forward, and the infinity symbol goes this way. Now I'm going back, and now I'm going up. And so that center in my hara really becomes the intersection of that infinity circuit, side to side, front and back, side to side. I wanted to show you something that I keep on my desk. So you and I are old enough probably to remember Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Well, this is the kids' version of Weebles right now. And it's that sense of, oops, I can center, but I don't fall down.
Yeah.
And so when I notice if I'm on the computer and my shoulders are creeping up and I'm getting stressed, it's like, oh, come back to center. If I'm on a call with somebody and I'm feeling I'm having a slip in my magnificence, I'm getting a little frustrated or something like that, it's like, this just reminds me. So it just sits next to my computer. So to recenter. And it's a physical practice because most of us, a lot of our lives are designed to escape the body. We don't want to sense the body. We don't want to feel the emotions of the body. Those are messy. Those are scary. Those are painful. And what the irony is that the real power of an enlightened life, of a mystical life, is grounded and centered in and through the body. And that gives us access to the infinite, the eternal.
Well, and interestingly enough, this is an energy practice, even though like you're moving your physical body, because it's affecting your light body and all the different parts of your body. It is moving the energy. And there's something about that thought process or attention, attention, both to the center that has a centering or calming thing. I like that. Do you have anything that you recommend people say, or just to breathe?
Well, and you mentioned Qigong. So certainly Qigong, Kundalini Yoga, a lot of the different systems that work with the subtle bodies have some relationship to this physical center. And so I really like to just sense my body, the raw sensations of my body and my center, and then breathing. And just with intention, with my breath, bringing my awareness and my focus to my center. And that, one thing we do know, Dan, is that anxiety and fear is the most contagious emotion among human beings. And if I'm off center and I'm in my head, I'm very prone to be hijacked by fear and anxiety. But when I can reset, when I choose to come back to my center, when I notice that I'm feeling off center, I notice that I'm feeling a little anxious here. It's like, just let me just take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and come back to center. It's like, okay, I'm home, I'm back. But it's a choice, it's a conscious choice. And so we could spend an entire weekend unpacking the experience of recentering, but I want to get to reset because it's so important. And you've talked several times about choosing and making a choice. And so reset is to notice, is my experience being dominated and filtered through the parts of me that are dedicated to safety and survival, that are my left brain thinking, calculating, judging part of me, that are the human part of me? Is my human in charge here, or is my soul in charge here? Who's the CEO of my experience in this moment? So for me, resetting is noticing which part of me is in charge, and is it the best part of me for this moment? If I'm making plane tickets to go, travel to vacation, well, I want the part of me that can understand and to judge and ascertain what's the best deal. And is this the accommodation for me? Fantastic. But when I'm in crisis mode, I want the divine CEO, best part of me in charge that has not only the martial artist capability, but the mystical skills of bringing in the energies that I need to be the most effective, most practical in this moment. So reset to me is about choosing who's in charge in this moment, my human or my divine. And I clearly get a choice in that. So.
Do you have a way to do that for people? Because there's a lot, it's easy to say that, okay, well, when you're in fear, like we know, that a lot of these states are very, very heavy, low states. And when you're in a low state of consciousness, you can't see the other solutions, right? What is it that happens that you can make that happen or initiate that shift?
So I'm going to give you a very simple breathing technique. So obviously, when we're in fear, when we're in anxiety, one thing we know even about the human is that our creative capabilities start to contract. When I'm in fear, or when I'm in jealousy, or when I'm in anger, when I'm in grief, when I'm in shame, the higher functions of even my human being start to contract. And certainly my executive skills, of my ability to reason clearly and think clearly, start to shrink. So I'm going to give you an incredibly simple breathing technique that will bring you back to center in 2 to 4 minutes. And I call it, it's so effective, I call it the Valium breath. but it's a real simple, it's just an in-breath, a pause, an extended out-breath, and a pause. And it's the extended out-breath that triggers the parasympathetic nervous system and the relaxation response in the body. So we'll just do it for a minute. How about that? So in-breath for 1, 2, 3, pause. Out-breath for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. In-breath, 2, 3, pause. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. In, 2, 3, pause. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, and then just take a normal breath. If you do that for 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, it will completely reset the anxiety level in your body. And so your creative skills, your executive skills come online, and your ability to choose then, okay, what's the best part of me to show up in this moment? Is it some part of my human self, or is it some part of my soul self that really needs to step forward? And at that point, I can really exercise a real choice, and I can reset. So recentering and resetting then really helps to set the stage for showing up in any moment at my most powerful and my most profound.
Mm. Yeah, and those kind of breath techniques are so amazing how quickly they bring calm, coherence to your heart, to your brain, and just create almost lightheadedness in a good way, right? That literally lighter and lighter. And it's such a perfect thing because, like you said before, you could do this also anywhere, almost anywhere. You know, standing in the
Right.
grocery line, you could just be doing your breath in and out and keeping yourself from going crazy on the crazy lines and stuff. Okay, so tell us about recharging.
Well, I want to, it'll take a minute to unpack this. But, you know, what I want to say about recentering and resetting, you know, those can be done in 60 seconds, or, you know, when you start to practice them, you can do them in a couple of minutes. Now, the recharging is really about your daily practices and your daily rituals, or your regular practices and your regular rituals. And so, you know, I think in terms of energy. And as a human being, we have a body, we have a heart, we have a mind, we have a will, we have a spirit. You know, so those are 5 different qualities, and they all require different kinds of energy, vibration, and frequency to function well. Physical energy is different than emotional energy, which is different than mental energy, which is different than discernment and choice, which is different than prana or chi or vital energy. They're different. And so it's important to realize that we have these different qualities in our bodies, and we have to make sure that we're optimally charged in each of them. So I'm just going to go over them quickly, and then I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can use self-care, your own daily rituals and practices, to be at your max. So physical energy, you can imagine, is what you eat, what you drink, and how you move your body. And so, of course, there's lots to be said about the kinds of foods you eat and why you eat and when you eat, making sure you drink lots of pure water. Nan and I both have reverse osmosis, charcoal filtered water systems in our homes. You know, we both eat organic. You know, we both try to eat healthy. And so, and most people do that are going to be listening to a call like this. But what I want to talk about is moving, how we move our bodies. The spiritual energy and our soul purpose and our spiritual values are the North Star that guide us and inspire transformation. But the energy to transform comes from the physical and the emotional and the mental. So moving our bodies is essential. And so I'm a firm believer in walking, Tai Chi, but also sweating. So dancing, riding my bike, swimming, running, working up a sweat will burn energy, but it also set the stage as you recover from that burn, you actually build the energy that then you can surf through the rest of the day. So you want to be paying real attention to your physical energy, particularly in stressful times like this, when we're under tremendous stress, when we're worried about our health, when we're worried about our money, we burn a lot of energy. And so you want to make sure you're doing something physical every day to nourish, rest, and restore your physical energy. You want to say anything about that, Miss Nan?
Oh, it's so important. And I'm thinking about people who are in situations where they don't have a lot of freedom to go outside or go for a walk or go to the gym and things like that. That's what the beauty of the internet and Tai Chi and those things. You can do them right there in front of your computer or your phone or your TV. And it's amazing to me how good of a workout you can get with a Tai Chi video, and you're not jumping and screaming or doing anything really extreme. So, but yes, and it dissipates the stress, because a lot of times we hold the stress and it's in our mind, and then it's in our emotions, and then it starts to enter our body, and then we're clenching our jaw, and we're creating other issues. And right now, above all other times, we want to keep the flow of life force energy and the most high energies as possible moving through us. So love it.
Well, and we talk about the positive emotions, cultivating positive emotions, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But that's love and joy and ecstasy and bliss. And so most of us have a physical movement or exercise that brings us joy. So don't forget the pleasure of dancing. So whether that's the tango or salsa or Nia or jazzercise, it doesn't matter. If it brings you pleasure, by all means do it, and make it a regular part of your regular rituals.
Yeah, I'm all for dancing.
I know that's right, girl. So physical energy, and we burn it, we need to rest it, and we need to restore it. Same with emotional energy, and particularly in stressful times. Particularly like the moms and the dads who are, at home teaching their kids and still having to work virtually online right now. It's like, how do I carve out that emotional space so that I can nourish my own heart and I can keep my own heart uplifted? And so there are two things that I want to say about that. One, think about the people that whenever you're with them, you are uplifted. It's such a joy to be with them, and you're so nourished when you're with them. And I hope everyone has at least one, if not a handful of people. Systematically spend time with those people. Maybe it's a 15-minute phone call once a week or a 30-minute phone call once a week. That will do so much to help you reconcile your emotional energy, so that it keeps something positive where you're nourished and you're fed. And particularly the people that make you laugh. The other thing I want to say, the number one thing that any human being can do to uplift their emotional state is to go help somebody. Do something nice for somebody. And that can be completely, anonymous, or it can go to a soup kitchen, or it can just, help a little old lady across the street, or maybe one of your neighbors who is elderly and vulnerable at a time like this. Go do their shopping for them. When we take the time out of our busy, selfish, self-contained lives and help another human being, it's the single best way to uplift our emotional energy.
Mm. It's interesting you said that, because a couple of years ago, I went through some really deep lows, and I thought, There were days I got up and I didn't want to be in my body. I was like, "Ugh." And so I just one day naturally reached for my phone, and I don't know if I went on Facebook or reached open text or something, but I just started finding people and sending them a happy message for no reason. Just like, I hope you're having a great day, with a picture, some like emoticons. And I noticed that after about 5 minutes of doing this, I was feeling really good. And so that's what I do. I just recommended it to one of my family the other day is, you know what, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling frustrated, give the relief for that to someone else, but even unasked for, right? Spontaneously. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's physical energy, emotional energy, now mental energy. And this is where meditation is so helpful. Jack Cornfield, the Vipassana mindfulness meditation teacher, said once in a retreat that I was with him, said that the mind thinks on average about 70,000 thoughts a day. Unfortunately, it's the same 70,000 thoughts day after day after day. And so we all have these stories that we tell. And so our thinking energy is really about the quality and caliber of the stories that we tell ourselves over and all day long. So that's where meditation is so powerful, to be able to take 15 or 20 or 30 minutes or longer and just watch the thoughts, and to begin to realize, though, I am not my thoughts. I'm not the voice in my head that's narrating my experience, that I am the infinite presence of consciousness that is witnessing the thinking. So that's one important tool that you can use. Another is to create what I call a realistic optimism. It's like that story, again, it's like the resetting. Am I in the human? Am I my fear-based? Part of me that believes in lack and uncertainty? Or am I in that part of me that believes in an infinite and abundant universe and can hold that space of optimism and expect the best to happen? And even if on the surface it looks like a crisis or a setback, it's like, what's the good that's coming from this? And I want to give you a quick story. So back in the 80s, in the middle of the AIDS epidemic, one of my best friends that's still here today, we used to, I'd pick him up on the way to the nightclub. I was manager of $1 million nightclub. And we would talk about what's the spiritual wisdom that's coming to us through the AIDS epidemic in the midst of so much death, so much loss. And, we think about coronavirus, the mortality rate of the coronavirus is 3% of the people who get sick. During the AIDS epidemic, for 11 to 12 years, the mortality rate of HIV/AIDS was 100%. It was harder to get, but boy, it was a frightening thing.
Yeah, yeah. What a
And so
perspective.
it was hard to see what was the good coming out of HIV/AIDS. But here we are, 25 years later, gay people can openly serve in the military in the United States. The law of the land now says that gay people can marry and legally be betrothed to their beloveds. A openly gay man was a viable candidate for president of the United States in the last Democratic primaries. And I actually had the chance to cast my ballot because I thought that at some point he will be a great president. None of that was even imaginable in 1988 or in 1994. So, and I think that because of the AIDS epidemic and what happened, that the world got to see that we are their brothers and sisters. And so the changes that we've seen in our society, and there's a long way to go still. So even in the death and dying of AIDS, there have been amazing gifts and transformations in our lives and culture because of that. And so whatever crisis you find yourself in, there is a way to look and just ask, what is the divine up to with this? What is she doing? What's the mystery doing with this? How can I cultivate a realistic optimism so that I can look for the positive things and the way that I can respond in a healthy and positive way in the moment. And to me, that is about really restoring and resting and recharging my mental energy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I really believe from personal experience as well as from clients, but mostly personal experience, that everything is a gift. Everything ends up being something powerful and amazing, a doorway to something, to a reality, to a way of thinking, to a way of life that wasn't even imaginable before. I don't know how to qualify or quantify death, or was it worth it, or could we have done it in an easier way? But I think that the key is to take these tools and use them every day as you take your steps through what's happening. And remember and believe that this isn't the end, it's the end of the old. Because I think we've already all changed. I think that people have completely different perspectives than they did a month ago on many different aspects of life. And that despite what it looks like, the not even the deaths, but like the financial challenges and the other things that are results of this occurrence, they all have an opportunity to create, or they are an opportunity. It is a massive opportunity when things deconstruct, when they fall apart because they weren't sustainable the way they were before. So without judgment towards anyone for anything, blaming who, what, where, why, or anything else, whatever you want to listen to, the peace, the ability to heal yourself, the ability to keep your immune system strong, the ability to reset and recenter and recharge comes by letting go, right? After you've figured out your survival, letting go of those and allowing yourself to say, I have no idea where this is going to go or how, but I know that if I'm recentered, if I'm walking through my life centered, I impact everyone in my immediate environment and everyone on the planet. And there's a possibility here. I truly believe that we are on the threshold of the golden age, and that this decade is about the deconstruction of the way that we thought and related, and our goals and political and social structures and everything else. And I don't know how, but the power is in things like these tools. The power is in seeing and reconciling. What was it you were saying earlier?
Reconciliation. And
Yeah.
I'd love to finish
Yeah.
the willpower and the spiritual energies, and then I want to talk about the global reset and the importance of reconciliation
Perfect.
to be in service to the global reset.
Okay.
So we talked about physical, emotional, and mental energies, and I want to talk about willpower. So, I think in terms of moral intelligence and our willpower, and it's our ability to discern and to make choices. And there was a study at Duke University not too long ago that said that most humans, their choices are 60 to 70% of their choices are unconscious. Think about that. We like to think we're conscious beings, and most of things are going on automatically underneath the surface. So our willpower is about, is my will, the energy of my actions and my choices, in alignment with my core values, my passions, the vision that I have for my life? Or are those choices being made unconsciously, and they're in service to the old human and the part of me that's driven by fear? And so, that's a whole art and science. But when my choices are in service to my core personal values and spiritual values, my own passions, my own dreams, my own vision for the life that I want to live, that takes on a life of its own. And so willpower has to be rested and restored just like all these other energies. But you want to make them in alignment with your highest good, as opposed to your most protected, your most scared, your most defended self.
Willpower, that is an interesting topic because we're coming from having used force over or force to, pushing, rushing, shoving, crushing it, pumped it up, that energy. And true personal willpower is not that kind of energy, right?
Right. Well, and what I think so essential, when you start to really connect to your dharma, your destiny, your genius, your soul purpose, whatever you choose to call it, you can hear, you can feel and sense, and it's calling to you. Let your longing for that pull you, instead of fighting and the crushing and the pushing and the straining. So, there's a way to surrender to that part of you that's calling to be awakened. And that, again, that's an art and science to the spiritual life, the mystical life. But it is so vivid when you find that groove.
Yeah. Okay. So now, what was the last one?
Spiritual
Yeah.
energy. And I mean, that's really what your whole body of work is around. It's, the spiritual anatomy and the soul making. And so it's how do you cultivate and be aware of the subtle body and the movement of chi or prana or vital energy through the subtle body. And there's, again, you could spend 30 years just practicing on cultivating the subtle body. But there are practices that do that. And so meditation is sitting in stillness and watching the mind. And then there are whole other practices of building the subtle energy. My regular practice right now is imagining and activating the Merkaba. That's part of where I'm at in my own personal growth. And not to use the Merkaba as a vehicle to move through other dimensions, but to only activate my energy in this body and in this dimension and in this life, so that I can be at the peak of my spiritual energies, so that I can merge my center and my heart and my mind and my will with my spiritual capacity, so that no matter what life throws at me, whether it is a plague or a pandemic or an economic shutdown, that I can hold my center and I can still access from my full human, merging and integrating with the divine. Then I can really say that I'm present, I'm here, I'm showing up at my best. And then from that place, maxing the human, that's the journey of maxing the human. Then I can really move into the mystic's journey of freeing the mind, healing the heart, and embodying my soul's purpose, which really means mastering my human ability to embody, experience, integrate the infinite, the eternal, and the immortal parts of my soul, not as an idea and a concept, but as a full-on experience. And then be a conduit of those infinite, eternal, and immortal energies in the three-dimensional world, so that as I walk through my day, I am a healing presence in the world. No matter who that I see, touch, meet, I am uplifting their energy, their presence, their joy, their bliss.
I love that. That is such a key thing. Is a lot of times I find through the years, students and clients really have a hard time, and myself too, to do things for ourselves. And people, we've been taught give to others and help. And what happens though is that's often like denying ourselves, right? And giving to others. And when you think about that, reality is the best thing you can do for the planet, the best thing you can do for the world, the best thing you can do for the pandemic is to recenter, is to reset, is to be that calm center that walks through the house, that walks through your day, that does whatever it is, bringing this lighter, attitude, this lighter energy and state to everyone. And a lot of, like you said, people who are at home with their kids, people are at home with elderly parents that have, Alzheimer's, people that are at home with spouses or children, adult children, because of the circumstances that it's not normal. Everyone's uncertain. There's fear. There's so many energies that are mixing together. And if you take time to do these things for yourself, then if you just say, sorry, everybody's going to have to deal with everything for a half hour, whatever, 10 minutes, whatever you can do, you're actually doing more for everyone else in the planet, not just for yourself. So this isn't a selfish action.
Well, and here's the invitation for those of you that are sort of trapped in close quarters. It's like, to be your own mystic, saint, or sage. You get to be a teacher, you get to be a model. And what great way to teach your children or your beloved or the people that you're, contained in space with. It's like, I'm going to model self-care. I'm going to model recharging my 5 vital energies, my 5 vital intelligences. And, here's how you do it. And can we have some fun with it? And can we get creative with it? And so it's like not something you have to do all alone in isolation, but it's like, no, let's create different rituals that we can have fun with together, where we're, as a family or as a community, we're rebuilding and restoring our physical energies, our emotional energies, our mental energies, our will, our spirit, so that it's like, oh, we're doing this together. And so it completely changes the possibility and the invitation of this moment.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about the moment and what's possible, what's happening, how you're handling it, how you're feeling about it. We talked about reaching out to other people. If you're feeling fear, lift a few other people up and you'll be lifted up. But imagine what you can model for your children or your family or your spouse or your coworkers or whatever, if you are the one that's staying calm or bringing great tips and tools instead of judging people and having that sense. And it really requires the fact that you're not living in, I like how you talk about reconciling the human or maximizing the human and the divine parts of you, because those fear centers are down there in this Dan Chen area, right? They're down here in the body, and the patterns pull people without thinking down into, oh no, what if, and the worrying and the thinking and the stress and the tension. And then you hear, I'm very grateful to be in touch with some people who are on the cutting research of what's happening and how this virus is acting. And every time something comes through, it's like this, no stress, no stress. This virus loves stress.
Right.
If you stress all day, physically, mentally, or emotionally, and then you go to bed at night, when viruses move, they're going to be, there's the yummy treat right there, because it dehydrates your cells. So all the way down to the actual health of your cells in your body and having a good defense, all the way up, being able to say, okay, I'm going to say no to stress. I can't control the situation, but I can still recenter. I can't change what's happening, but I can still reset and I can recharge. And like you said, I can have fun with it. So tell us, how do we reconcile, and why is it so important right now, even without the pandemic, that people are able to reconcile both their divine human selves and some of the other things, the planet?
Well, I'm feel inspired because I know you do a lot of shamanic journeys. And I had a visitation recently from a horny toad. Now I was fascinated by horny toads as a kid. I grew up in rural Texas where it's really dry. So we had a lot of tarantulas and we had a lot of horny toads, and I just loved them and I was fascinated with them. So I was so surprised when a few weeks ago, one popped into, I had a visitation. And I was like, cool, what's that about? And as I meditated on it, I unpacked, what is the horny toad telling me? It was a reminder that our human is not only mineral and plant, but it is reptilian, it's mammalian, it's primate, and it's human, and it's moving into the angelic and the divine. And the horny toad was reminding me that I am hardwired to know when I'm in real danger versus what my human mind likes to do about perceived or imagined danger. The reptilian responds to genuine threats in the moment. And I can trust that part of my own body and my own makeup, as opposed to that part of me that's human that gets trapped in stories based on my past experience. And I'm held hostage by my past instead of being in a place where I can choose the future that I want for myself. And so the horny toad for me was just a reminder that there's parts of me that are literally millions of years old, and the wisdom of that part is there serving me right now if I will just surrender to it and trust it. That's just like surrendering to the parts of my soul and trusting it, and how they all can come together in this amazing reconciliation and moving from conflict and tug of war, the reptilian or the mammalian or the primate or the human that's at odds with the spiritual, and they're pulling against each other. All of a sudden they become and they merge and they create this beautiful harmony. They reconcile together. And so that's really what a lot of these practices will do. They create that sense of reconciliation and harmony, because harmony is the natural state of universal law and universal principle. It's the human, selfish, egoic, left brain, discerning mind that dominates, that is in conflict with universal law. And when I can transmute and transcend that from a place of love and kindness and compassion, I can then move into harmony with universal law. I can move into harmony with the best parts of myself. And then all of me is moving in this beautiful, infinite circuit of possibility. And so that's what I really want for everyone that's listening to this call, is you be so centered in your infinite possibility and yet so present in your human at the same time, that no matter what is happening in the global invitation for reset, which is where we are right now. It's like the world is in reset. I was joking with Nan earlier. It's like the earth has said, okay, go to your rooms and think about what you've done. Go to your rooms and think about what you've been doing to yourself, your families, the world, the planet, the environment. It's like, okay, we're giving a moment of reset. And the question is, when things loosen up and we get to come out of our rooms and go back to the world, do we learn something? Do we have some wisdom about the reality of universal law and how things really are? Or that imagine like, oh yeah, I'm human and I'm superior, and you know, I speak English and I know all these practices and I'm better than you and my superiority? Or do I really come to a place of humility and surrender and say, how can I serve with all my experiences and with all my skills and all my practices? How can I help more people?
Mm.
So that's what I got for you today, Nan.
I love it. Thank you. It's very important for people to understand that they can reset and that we are in a reset, but it isn't about fear. And of course, the energy that we're in and that we contribute to the world at this time is going to be part of the new world that we're creating. So again, if you recenter, reset, if you use your breath, I love breath work, just get back into your own personal little kind of bliss state as you go through your day. That's the energy that you're contributing to pave the new world. That's the energy that you're gifting to your family, to your house, to your body, to your animals that are you're home with all the time. And that is a gift. So I love this, and I love this reconciliation. What a beautiful time for us while we take a pause in life and busyness and rushing and agendas to reset, recenter, and decide how you're going to go forward. I know that astrologically this has been already predicted for many, many, many centuries, as this is the great transformation and the great societal reset. And so regardless of what you might think with your mind, it's this fault, it's that thing, it's this, when that is one of the things that these techniques I know will do for you is free you from that part of you that's saying, I can't wait till this is over and I can just get back to doing my thing. That's what we can't do, right? That's what we can't do, is go back to being the same as we were before, because it's never going to work. It wasn't working before, and now it's creative time. And when you reset and center like this, especially those recharging things, looking at the different bodies, looking at the different aspects of yourself, not just watching TV so that you relieve your stress in that way, but you get the physical exercise, not just making sure you get some sleep, but that you get some spiritual time as well, time with nature or whatever it is you can do, because this is the ingredients you're putting into yourself that's coming from you in every breath and every step and every thought, every touch that you have. So, and this is a beautiful time to reconcile a lot of things for ourselves, like you said, think about, but not from that stern and angry, disapproving parent. I think it's more like to think about, we're all going to take a pause now, right? And let's reprioritize what we're doing. So being able to reconcile, I know you do events and classes, and you have a beautiful gift everybody can get. I can't wait to go get it. Tell us about the Kaleidoscope Chakra Light and Sound Meditation.
Well, this is a energy medicine practice that I have used for many, many years. And I'm going to tell you, it's thrilling and exciting to do, but I'll give you a little caveat. It is a meditation that combines color and sound and toning and vibration in the body. And it moves through the 7 chakras and the 7 colors from red all the way to violet, and different vowel sounds that are associated with the 7 chakras. And when you combine color and sound that way, it will help move you into a state. And you can have different emotional experiences or energetic experiences for sure. But if you take on doing this on a regular practice, whether it's once a week or a couple times a week or every day, it will expedite your spiritual transformation like nothing else that I know. The only thing that comes close is doing the 5 Tibetan exercises every day. Those 2 things, the 5 Tibetans and combining color and sound with the 7 chakras like this, will expedite your karma and your dharma. So fasten your seatbelts, kids, and you better recenter and reset and recharge, because you're going to be holding on and going, wow, what a ride.
I know. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm a sensation junkie. A spiritual friend of mine used to call her, we called ourselves, we wanted to tone and then add the music and add the color and add all the different things at once. So yeah, and it is amazing. If you have a really stressful or sad day, because we are processing, and part of this is a cleanse. I truly believe we're cleansing the earth, everybody, even the rocks and the dirt and the water is releasing this pain, the suffering, the judgment, and all the things that have come before, and the grief over the need to know, so we can get back into the flow. And so, yeah, aligning those personal chakras and giving yourself a chance to let all these different energies, right? The color is an energy, and each ray has its own, it's going to speak to you. It's going to touch your skin and move through your breath and bring different flavors of energy, support, guidance, and your chakras are portals as well. So as you align them through this, it's easy too. You don't have to do anything. You just lay there. Oh, this is blissful. And so this is a really juicy gift. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
All right. So let's wrap up. Why don't you share whatever wisdom you want to leave everyone with? And thank you so much for sharing all of your inspiration in your own life, what you've lived, who you are being, what you've done with your own challenges and pain, and how you are being a light to the world. I really appreciate it, and I love you dearly. And I would like to have you leave us with your wisdom.
Well, you mentioned something in our talk today. It was just a quick reference. But I think you called it the new golden dawn, the new golden era that's being midwifed in this crazy time. And what I want to say to you, when you really consciously choose your mystical journey, the journey of every mystic, every saint, every sage, and bring it in service to the modern era, that evolutionary edge of humanity, because we are midwifing to a new level of humanity. Barbara Marx Hubbard called it Homo co-creator. And I believe that that's a great stage, but I think we're also moving to Homo universalis, a future stage of human being. And it's like, not only am I a citizen of the planet, I'm a real citizen of the universe with every conscious sentient being throughout all the created universes. And that's our destiny. But that golden era that you talked about, that as we begin that mystical journey and we take on these regular practices to keep us centered and choosing our best self and recharging our energies, and then from that place accessing the infinite and the eternal and the immortal states of our soul that are already always available to us, and then use them skillfully, just like a surgeon, to heal all the parts of ourself that are still contracted in pain. That is living in our own new golden dawn, our own new golden era. And then as we start to move into our families and bring that healing energy to them and creating that infinity circuit with our families and our communities and our cities and our countries, and then ultimately the world, we are midwifing that new state of human consciousness, that new dawn, through our own presence and through our own bodies. So it starts with us and it radiates out. And it is the most spectacular, exciting, thrilling journey that you can choose in your life. It makes Disneyland look like Tinker Toys.
It is. It's so true. Well, Al, tell us how people can find you. We'll be sending the gift out with the kit and everything. And of course, you can always contact us at nanakasha.com. But tell us about your website and anything else that people can find you.
Well, sure, people can always reach me at throughyyourbody.com, because enlightenment is a bodily experience. Everything happens through the body. It's THROUGH, throughyyourbody.com. You can go to my website. You can certainly access through the free gift, the Kaleidoscopic Chakras. You'll be directed to my website. There's always a Contact Alan tab there. So, I'd love to hear what you thought about our time together with Nan today. If you have a great experience with the Kaleidoscopic Chakras, there's a way to leave a comment underneath the meditation. Do that. I'd love to hear, how you're doing. And so let's walk this great, bold, golden road together a while, and let's midwife the next stage of human evolution and the next stage of human consciousness together.
All right, wonderful. This has been delicious and delightful. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone sharing this with us. Please share this with anyone and everyone you can. Bliss Life Podcast is on iTunes. You can go to show.nanakasha.com if you want to get on a list to be reminded when they come out. And make sure that you use this information. You don't go, wow, that was great, and then rush into your life, right? Recenter, reset, and recharge. And max that humanness of you, reconcile it with the divine part of you, and meet the new you. Like you were saying, we're evolving into the new you that can be both and not have it be a conflict. So I look forward to seeing you again on the Energy Medicine series. Let me know how I can serve you, help you if there's a topic that you would like. And I'm going to share a Mayan greeting with you. It's in la Quech, alakin, and it means I am another you, you are another me, we are one. More than ever before, we're aware that we can't ascend without all of us together. So the I am that I am is now also the we are that we are. And I'm honored to be here with all of you at this moment. And I can't wait to play in the golden age together. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Al.